हमेशा अपन लेते हैं यहाँ तक
आ जाइए अब आ गई ना।
नहीं तो इसका भी चक्कर काटना पड़ता है।
Sure. I'll continue, sir, with your permission. And sorry for the interruption. There was a power disruption. Fine. We could exploit the volatiles that is coming out of the flask if we could use it as a repellent for a pest management. Now, a lot of opportunities are available to exploit these semiochemicals for pest management. And yeah, now looking into a slightly different angle, what are the segmentation of semiochemicals? Mostly they're broadly classified not only based on the type of action they do, because as Dr. Bhaktivinoda sir has said, it is either sexual, aggregation, or alarm. We could also differentiate it by mode of application, either it's monitoring or mass trapping or mating disruption. And also the segmentation of semiochemicals or the usage pattern also varies across the geographical location. Now, this gives us a wonderful opportunity for us because the usage is getting relatively high in the Indo-Pacific. And also there are a lot of opportunities in the places where it's yellow. They are the most intensive crop growing areas. So there are, so I'm not telling that they are not being used, but there is still an opportunity existing if you are able to produce the chemical at a dirt cheap level. And of course, African continent is still to be explored. So now looking into quickly the type of pheromones that is available for different insects and different types. You have most of the pheromones that are available in the market as monitoring and fast trapping. And also the use as a mating disruption technology is also picking up over a period of time. And few insect groups have received attention because of their economic value, either your Prochlorinidae or scarabeids or your scolitids. And some are starting to receive attention like the cerambycids. So yes, based on the economic nature of the pest, things will be shifting over a period of time. And we do need to develop technologies that are best suited for those insects in that geography and for that particular cropping system. Now, looking into the system that is operating in our country, as I was telling, I'll tell you a few of the case studies where we had a bit of success. We wanted to focus on those insects which were cryptic in nature, and also those which are having economic importance. All the pests have economic importance, I don't say that, but certain invasives, when they are entering into the country, they cause a great havoc the moment they land into the country. So we need to look into them. And there are certain insects which is a perennial problem, just as one of the speaker was telling that Rhizopus borer is a problem in Manipur, and it's also a problem, perennial problem in majority of the rice-growing parts of the country, and also some insects like your diamondback moth and brinjal sugar fruit borer. Now, just I would like to tell upon all the case studies where we had success, but I will be certainly touching upon. One of my favorite insect is the red palm beetle because it's an insect which kills the entire palm that has been growing for 10 to 15 or 20 years. So it's really pathetic to see a palm die over, I mean, a week's time. Within a week's time, you wouldn't be seeing any symptoms, suddenly a topple. And of course, the pheromones were available and they have been imported and they have used. But the problem was that the chemistry that was imported and used in our country was as high as 1,000 rupees a load. So there exists a possibilities wherein we can bring down the load of chemistry's requirement by adopting suitable dispensing technologies. So what we thought that was that while concentrating on a dispensing platform, what are the materials that is available with us and what is that which could have a wider ramification if you have to think of the farmers. One such material or the technology that we have in our hand is nanotechnology because it was picking up for the past decade. I mean, Government of India, thanks to Dr. H.P. Singh Saab, who had initiated this process long back in 2010 and 11, brought in people across the country who had no knowledge about nanotechnology. He himself had a book and we were reading and then we started upon. That was the beginning. And yes, these nanomaterials have to be developed and how best you can put the chemistry that is causing physiological response into the nanomaterials. And if so, are they behaving properly in the field to do the job what they are supposed to do? And if they can be taken into the field and if they have a wonderful action. Now, before doing any sort of research in chemical ecology, as Dr. Bhaktivinoda sir was said, and has this citrus group bacteria. It's always important to study the details of the insect before even ending up trying to get the pheromonal extract. That I would say comes only 30 to 40% of the research. I mean, it's 30 to 40% midway of the research. First, you have to study the behavior. And in case of red palm beetle, one has to study the flight dynamics. Always, every insect has a different type of flight dynamics. Like your rhinoceros beetle, which is also in the palm ecosystem, it has got a shell-out flight. It just takes off landscapes and falls. But whereas an insect like red palm beetle has got a hovering flight, like a helicopter, it can manage. So you have to be knowing what is the flight so that you can develop a craft accordingly. And we had tried to understand that, and we had tried to develop certain nanomaterials, try to characterize them, and try to see what best they are having an ability to combine with the pheromones that we have been using for the trapping these insects, and then see that the pheromone that has been loaded into the nanomaterial comes out faithfully, because after all, nanomaterials would have different properties. Certain materials would have a tendency, after loading the compound into the material, they would have a binding capacity, so they may not release the blends in a perfect manner. So you need to have a material so that it releases the blends in a proper fashion. And then the material that is coming out, or the pheromone that is coming out after being loaded into the nanomaterial, should come at a faithful ratio, because insects' neurons are so fine-tuned. The slightest change in the ratios will not do any good. Now, for example, in this case, it is red palm beetle, which has got major compound and minor compound of the ratio of -1. And if you alter the ratio, none of the red palm beetle is going to fall. Now, the red palm beetle pheromone is loaded into a nanomatrix. And if the matrix is holding one and releasing another, then the job is not done. So we try to see the pheromone that is coming out of the nanomaterial along with the GCMS and the EID. The pheromone came out faithfully, and the insect also responded faithfully. A perfect fit telling that it has cleared the physiology test. Now you can put it in a matrix, but that's not all. The moment we take it to the field, is it having a good desiccation ratio that is standing for a longer time as compared to what it is in the commercial rule? So on that angle, the pheromone rule, which was loaded with 700 milligrams of pheromone, which was imported from Costa Rica, stood only for around 60 to 90 days. But when it is loaded into a nanomaterial, it stands for a much longer time of around 180 days, more than 20% is available. Now, the moment you make the material, you make the pheromone loaded, do all the battery of tests, you have to test it across geographical locations to see if they are not hampered by the different climatic conditions, rain or water, wind or sunlight. And we have done extensive field trials across the country, and we have similar trend of results. Of course, the levels of insect trap would vary based on the population existing at different locations, but the trend should be the same. Now, as Pathochan sir said in the previous talk, the biggest trouble with the red palm beetle is the trap, the pheromone that is used. He said that the food volatiles are essential to bring in the insect. Now, we need to ease the technology, because I'm from a farming community. I know how difficult it is to convince my father and asking him to do something what is new. Because first thing he finds is what is ease, what is available with ease, with minimum disturbance. So, whatever pheromones we develop, we have to blend the pheromones also, if required, to that pheromone, so that you could have a blend either in isolation or in tandem as a separate tube, and use them in one trap so that you get the insects falling into that. You don't have to ask the farmer to go and procure a food material, either banana or pineapple, and ask them to put it in the trap and keep macerating and cleaning the trap. You have to minimize the trouble given to the farmer. So on that angle, what we did was that we try to isolate the volatiles coming out of the food source. We try to check what are the food volatiles from the bouquet of volatiles, what is coming out from the food source. That's causing physiological response. Pull them out, try to make them as a blend, check their physiological response in a wind tunnel, because it's not the neuron firing alone that is going to be important, because it could be a positive or a negative, either a repellent or an attractant. But the behavior gives us a plus for us. So we take that, make the perfect blend of pheromone and pheromone, and put it in the field. You don't have to add in new food volatiles. You just have to only add in water and insecticide to that, and then go ahead. We had done field trials, and we have proved that across locations that the moment you make a synthetic blend of the pheromone and you blend it with the pheromone, you trap high number of insects, and you also do away with the burden of trying to service the traps over a period of time. And similarly, when we are trying to work on one insect, always another insect comes nearby. you cannot close your eyes and tell that I will not do anything for that. Because in red palm beetle, the moment rhinoceros comes, red palm beetle comes. So we need to take care of this insect also. So we try to use the same platform and the pheromone that we have used, and we have been trapping the insect successfully. So both the rhinoceros and red palm beetle problems have been addressed by Herbicidomatics. Now in 2015, we had the problem of the invasives coming. Now, Fluticasone pheromone is very expensive. Across the globe, they were available in Abacepta, which was running from 3 to 5 milligrams. So you cannot be luxury in using that particular pheromone. It's better to start working on load as low as 0.5 to 1 milligram. So there also we had a success wherein since we had the nanometrics in our hand, we tried to check their compatibility by loading in the pheromone into the system and see if the pheromone is not disturbed or it's releasing faithfully. Then try to put it in the field, and we have been collecting huge number of insects, and we have tried to do a lot of mating disruption trials also with this, and we have had success. Now, I think this addresses the problems of Manipur. Yellowstone Bureau research on pheromone has been going on in our country from Indian Rice Research Institute for quite long. I mean, Dr. Pasalo had developed the facility and a lot of people have been working. But we had started this work in 2017-18, and we had compared it with the technology of the institute, which was the first to come, that is Rice Research Institute, both in their location and in ICRISAT. And we were twice or thrice more than what their land ratios were doing. And so much so, we had tested it across the country in Patami, which is a rice growing tract in India. They have found it successful and they have replicated it in quite a large field. Diamondback moth is a big problem. How many more minutes I have?
Okay. 3 minutes.
Fine.
As we have to complete.
Sure. Diamondback moth is another technology which we had, and also the alien invasive fall armyworm. The technology, I think we have supplied the news to CAU for a trial. And very important, like yesterday's study, the moment you work on nanomaterials, now we are very smart to design materials that will do away with regulation, but still, ethics says that we have to check for the efficacy. So we have run it on a mice model to see the safety of the material on various angles, and we have proved that to be very safe for use. And of course, since time is running short, right here, how best, because there was a query raised yesterday, how best you could integrate technologies with the biocontrol agents that is happening. Now, one experience I would like to share. My previous speaker was speaking about learning and memory. Now, I would like to draw the attention of the house shortly. We have a parasite, which is a problem, which is a parasite which is used to solve the problem of coconut black-headed caterpillar. It comes as high as 60 to 70 feet. The pest is 60 to 70 feet. We release the lab parasitoid, that's goniosis, from the field, to go over there. But the problem is that more than 10 to, in some cases, labs have been growing this goniosis on lab dose for more than 20 to 30 generations. So much so, the insect, the parasitoid, loses its ability to find its natural host. And that is where we need to try to spike up the learning and memory of a parasitoid, because parasitoid does have an innate memory. You have to spike it up a little bit. And we have been trying to do some studies in trying to improve the learning and memory so that you train the insect before it is being led into the field. It does the job better. And the technology that we have developed is used widely by the Ambaji Petha Center. And here, there is another problem that was said yesterday. The other man's solution is your problem. Drift of insecticide. Is it causing damage to the parasitoid? Yes, at a sublethal dose, it has a serious impact on the neurons. Then it is impairing its ability to identify its host. So we did try to see what way in which we can address this problem. The neuronal system, when it is damaged with the drift of insecticide, it has an impact on the potassium channel of the neurons, and the insect loses its ability. Now, since I have been also given a job of veterinary entomology, a quick run, because we are also working on veterinary entomology, we are working more on houseflies in hospitals. And housefly pheromone is new, strikers, and we have again tried to confirm in the material that we have been using. But most interestingly, trichosil attracts the male. We need to attract more female flies. So we have been trying to isolate volatiles from its host, where we could identify compounds and try to merge it into a pheromone so that you get more female. Each female you trap, you get around 300, 500 eggs of that particular insect being stopped being laid into the system. So So we have been, in addition to that, we have been trying to use various plant-derived sources, wherein you can also use them as a repellent. So you can adopt the push-pull technology to solve this problem. And we have had a good success with it. So the technical evaluation committee appointed by the High Court of Karnataka itself has told us people to use the technology that we have developed. We have not completed the project, but the technology has been working out very well in the field and it has been adopted in the solid waste management yard. And very interesting part of the research that has been going on in the lab is we always look at the microbial pathogens as pathogenesis causing issue in the insect, but I look at it different. Why not I try to find out the volatiles? And the insect is finely tuned with the receptors to find out the substrate for egg laying and all. And if there is going to be a substrate which is being doped to the microbe, it's going to selectively avoid. And we are trying to identify the volatiles which we can pull out from this fungus and use it as part of the. So to summarize, yes, the semiochemical research has taken a new lead in the country. Our team is working on that. And yes, if we want to use the platform to deliver materials as a third sheet, I think the technology can be pushed, not pushed, it could be pulled easily by the farmers. And of course, the HRD and ecological approaches has to go on. And we have commercialized the technologies. And at this juncture, I would like to thank my parent organization, ICR, for generously supporting us, along with the project and technology. I thank you one and all for the patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Subhagaran. I think I have to make a mention about this, Bangalore Municipal, which we call it as Bruhat Bangalore Mahanagar Palike, BBMP. They have come in contact with us, the chief engineer has come, and they want to establish his traps so that the housefly menace is greatly reduced. So we are now working on that to expand further so that it is used for the management of urban insect pest management. Congratulations. Thank you, Dr. Subhagaran. If we have any one question, we can take because we are running out of time. We have another 8 presentations to make. So if any one important question, you can take it. Yes.
Some insects where the pheromone behavior is there. It is said that one reason could be the degradation of the compounds when they are being released from the cell, like oxidation. Whether these porous materials, which nanopores materials, we have HCl in there.
That's precisely what I said in the beginning, because the moment you make a material, it's not that it should be taken directly to the field. You have to subject it to an array of tests, both characterization in the lab for the materials and for its compatibility, and for the release profile, whether it is releasing at the moment you load that into the, you collect the volatile and you check that volatile actually of the chemistry is there. And if it's coming out of the ratio in what it is, then only the success is there. Otherwise, if the product gets killed at the lab.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Suresh. And I think if you want to have more interaction, we can have during the lunch time. Thank you, Dr. Subhagaran. Next, we will go to the presentation by Dr. Deepa Bhagat. We are also happy to inform that Dr. Deepa Bhagat's mother also is with us to listen to Dr. Deepa Bhagat's lecture. Welcome, madam. So Dr. Deepa Bhagat is an organic chemist. She has more than 20 years of service in ICAR. She was earlier in different institutions, and about 2007 she joined our institute, and she is now presently working on developing the nano-derived materials for sustained release, as well as the nano sensors for the identification of calling moths and other females which release the pheromones. Dr. Deepa Bhagat, please restrict to our time, madam. Please 15 minutes only, because we are running out of time.
With permission from you, one introduction. Dr. Bana is actually leaving us, so I will request you to kindly felicitate him. को क्या देखना? All the rest, body side is
Yes, Dr. Deepak, please go ahead.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to say thanks to organizers who have invited me. And I am so lucky today that my guru and my mentor, Dr. Bhakta Vasalam sir, he is chairman today for this session. And really, you cannot, means I cannot convert this into a words that how happy this feeling is that a student is presenting in front of his mentor and guru. I joined in 2007 and I was never aware of all these application part, how to do this application. And Bhakta Vasalam sir, he has trained me from basics. And not only me, he has made, I think, more than 100 people in ICAR. And he's such a very nice teacher with so much love and affection. He will teach you that I just request all of you, those who are having interest, he or she can contact directly to sir. So with this, I would like to start my this presentation. And this is a nano formulation of pheromones and their application in pest management. Want to go ahead on next?
Page down.
Excuse me.
Page down.
This no. It will go second. This page down.
This is the next slide. Which will go to previous slide.
Okay, this is the next, and is next slide. Okay, so in this there is some unique thing is there. When we press end, it goes to next slide. Okay, so nanoformulation actually as a biochemist when I prepared, so we found that there is so many applications in agriculture that one part is pheromone nanogels, that is slow release of pheromone formulation, which are the topic I'm going to cover today. Rest more application part was in nanofertilizer and pesticide sensor, oxalate sensor, pheromone nanosensor, and urea sensor and biopesticide sensor. So one product and it's having many applications. So introduction part, all the basic things has been covered by Dr. Bhakta Vasalam sir and my another colleague, Dr. Subharan sir. I am so lucky to work in such a nice team. So I'm not going to take much time for this thing. What happened? It's not displaying there. So plant-based competitor with human beings, and there is a loss of 20 to 40%. There is a loss of 40% per year. So there are some methods to control like insecticides, pesticides, and genetically modified crops. Biological control methods are also applicable, and pheromone traps are also one among them. So pheromone traps actually, as you know from my senior, that these are all volatile compounds, and these are highly volatile compounds. That's why this technology was not so successful in agriculture field, because again and again farmer has to go and change the septa, and this pheromones is costly also. Every 7 days that cost of pheromones has to be added into the input, so, into the input of agriculture. So to reduce all these things, what we have done, we have used this nanotechnology, and by using aromatic pi-pi interaction, that is a chemical reaction, and we have made this nanogel, and we converted that liquid pheromones into a solid pheromone. That is the beauty of nanotechnology basically. We can change all the different parameters. We can convert that non-volatile into volatile compound, volatile into non-volatile compound, liquid to solid, solid to liquid. Means it's a very beautiful technology. So then we have filed patent also in 2014. And this is a molecule, what this base molecule we have prepared, that is known as OPV. And we have filed patent for particularly this molecule only. And application part is definitely for control of Bactrocera dorsalis. so you can see this is a liquid methylphenol, and we have converted it into a semi-solid formulation. So in this series, near about 180 products are there. For every, you name the pest and we have the product, like Cephalopaga incertillus, and this one like all the, it's not going to be next. It's not going to be next. So basically what in patent we have done is we have filed for molecule and for application part, and definitely the trap also we have used a very unique trap with the water bottles, and that costed only means it was a used, so we were reusing these water bottles also. So we have published this work in scientific reports. Those who are interested, they can go through this publication, and even they can contact me also. And since this protocol was means unique protocol, it was first established by our team in NBIR. So this got placed in protocol exchange also, Nature Protocol Exchange. And this you can see that we have done this field trials in one. So it's okay. So in laboratory, we have studied its efficiency in different temperatures like 10 degree, 20 degree Celsius, 30 degree Celsius, and 50 degree Celsius. And in field trials, definitely more than 45 degree Celsius. So this became a successful product. Yeah, again, so this in small scale I have done in this DLC plate studies. So this is also a way to go ahead for this application with the low cost. You can use a glass plate to establish first step that this product is effective. And then later this water bottle, and you can see that red is the means control, that is liquid methylphenol. So this got finished in 7 days only, whereas that nano gels it was working after 30 days also. After 30 days we have replaced the trap because that pest population gone reduced drastically. In the same series, we have developed a product for Holotrichia gonsalponia also. Holotrichia gonsalponia is commonly known as white grubs, and its infestation its havoc is too much in Rajasthan side. So we have published a folder with the guidance of our director, sir, Dr. M. Gupta Vasalam, sir. So those who are interested, I can give them folder also. So you can see all these, since it is in soil, so much loss, all the crops. So what happened is, in previously people were using this home kind of thing, and that also they have to go evening 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. night in agriculture field. So really not feasible for farmers when light and nothing is there at night 8 p.m. in agriculture field, and even rainy season. This pest comes in rainy season, so it was really very tough. So what we have developed, we have just synthesized all these molecules, and we convert it into a slow release formulation. And this technology is very low cost technology. It is 10 rupees per sample. So almost all near about 10,000 samples we have sent to Rajasthan this year. Dr. Means our director sir has